caught red-handed. My cheating girlfriend ruined everything. It started, as many nightmares do, in the quiet hum of an ordinary evening. I walked into my own apartment, expecting the usual comfort, and instead, the world I knew shattered around me. This isn't some grand epic with courtroom drama or flashing police lights. It's far more insidious. This is the story of how the person I loved, the one I'd poured for years of my life and dreams into, vanished before my eyes, replaced by a stranger on the other end of a video call. And frankly, I don't care if you believe it. It happened, and it tore me apart. I'm 27, buried deep in the world of IT, which usually means my focus is on code, not chaos. Alina, a year my senior, was my first real love. For years we'd built something, or so I thought, dreaming of a future that felt tangible. She was beautiful, sharp, funny, the perfect fit. We'd even been living together for a year, a rhythm of comfortable domesticity. Trust was an unspoken foundation. But foundations can crack. Slowly, subtly, the cracks appeared. Her phone became an extra limb, even following her into the bathroom. Late-night texts, screens furtively hidden when I was near. More girls' nights that felt less like camaraderie and more like evasion. I dismissed the unease, told myself to trust, not to be that possessive guy. The red flags were waving, clear as day, but I was so invested, so blind, I just kept telling myself it was nothing. Then came that Tuesday. A canceled meeting at work meant an early return home. I slipped in quiet. From her room, I heard faint voices. A video call. That familiar prickle of dread shot through me, sharper this time. This wasn't a casual chat. I moved closer to the door, and then I heard it. The words that would forever echo in my mind. Yes, my love, I miss you too. So much. When can we see each other again? The air left my lungs. My blood ran cold. The kind of endearment she'd whispered only to me, now spilling out to a stranger. She laughed, a light, flirtatious sound, as if her world wasn't crumbling right there, in the very home we shared. I couldn't stay hidden. I walked into the room, not bothering to knock. Alina spun around, her eyes wide with pure terror. Her phone clattered to the floor, and on the screen, a man's smiling face mocked me. What is this, Alina? My voice was a raw, unfamiliar rasp. She stammered, her face a blotchy red. It's nothing, honey. Just a friend, we... Don't lie to me. The anger, cold and sharp, finally ignited. I heard everything. Who is he, Alina? She lunged, tried to embrace me, but I recoiled as if burned. I'm so sorry, please. It was a mistake. I don't know how it happened. Her tears, her desperate pleas for forgiveness, now tasted like ash. All the affection, the intimacy, felt like a meticulously performed play, and I, the fool, had been the audience. Pack your things. I managed, my voice steady despite the hurricane raging inside. I want you out. Tonight. Now. Her pleading turned to hysterical sobs, then to furious accusations. I was a tyrant. I never understood her. It was my fault for not giving her enough attention. The classic narcissist script, playing the victim, twisting the knife. You did this to yourself, I said, a strange, hollow calm settling over me. And now, you'll face the consequences. As I said, many won't believe it because it's such a common scenario, but that doesn't make it any less painful. After I kicked her out, I felt completely drained. The next few days passed in a fog. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Work became the only refuge, a place I could lose myself to avoid thinking about what had happened. Alina didn't give up. She started bombarding me with messages, calls, pleas, threats, attempts to guilt-trip me, the whole arsenal. She even tried to come to my apartment. Luckily, I didn't open the door. She started writing to my friends, trying to rally them to her side, telling them what a heartless person I was for kicking her out without an explanation. But my real friends know me, and they didn't fall for her manipulations. A few acquaintances who were also her friends did take her side, but I didn't care. I knew the truth. I never even bothered to find out who that man was. It didn't matter to me. The fact of the betrayal was undeniable. The hardest part was realizing that the person I had trusted with everything could be so utterly treacherous. That all her words, her affection, her gazes could have been a charade. It made me reevaluate our entire past. Were there other signs I missed? Was this just a one-off, or had she always been like this? The answer was obvious. No, she was just good at hiding it. Eventually, as the pain subsided a little, the realization hit me. I deserved better. I deserved honesty and respect. I had been through hell, living with someone who was betraying me, and now I would rebuild my life, but without her. I blocked her everywhere, changed the locks, and finally started to breathe freely. There's no more room for lies in my life. And if anyone ever asks me if it was worth it, I'll say yes. Because now I know who I am, and that I'll never again let anyone treat me like a doormat. After Alina was gone, the silence in the apartment wasn't peaceful. It was a vast, echoing void. Every corner, every object seemed to hold a memory that twisted into a fresh pang of betrayal. Her scent still lingered on her side of the bed, on a forgotten scarf draped over a chair, a cruel reminder of a presence that was now a phantom. I found myself staring at mundane things, her toothbrush still in the holder, a pair of her earrings on the nightstand, and feeling a sickening blend of disbelief and rage. How could someone so utterly woven into the fabric of my daily life just unravel? I tried to keep busy, burying myself in work. My code became my refuge, a logical world where inputs yielded predictable outputs, unlike the chaotic, deceptive mess my personal life had become. But even there, the focus would snap. I'd find myself staring blankly at my monitor, replaying snippets of the phone call, her stammered excuses, the smug face of that stranger on her screen. Sleep was a luxury I rarely afforded myself. When I did drift off, it was into restless, vivid nightmares where her laughter turned into taunts, and the man's face morphed into a mocking grin. Friends tried to reach out. Some offered comfort. Others just listened, patiently absorbing my incoherent rants. A few, the ones who truly knew me, simply showed up with food, sat in silence, or dragged me out for walks, knowing I needed the distraction more than I needed to talk. I appreciated them, even if I couldn't fully engage. My world had shrunk to the four walls of my apartment and the sterile glow of my laptop. Everything else felt distant, unreal. The initial shock had given way to a deep, gnawing ache that settled in my chest, a constant reminder of what had been lost. Not just a girlfriend, but a future, a trust, and a piece of myself. Just when I thought the dust might be settling, the universe decided I hadn't suffered enough. Alina's flying monkeys, as I now bitterly called them, started their coordinated attack. First, it was passive-aggressive comments on social media, thinly veiled remarks about people who can't forgive or misunderstandings that ruin everything. I quickly put my profiles on private, unwilling to be a public spectacle. Then came the direct messages from numbers I didn't recognize, usually starting with "Alina is so heartbroken. You need to talk to her," or "You don't know the whole story." I blocked them all without a second thought. My phone's blocked contacts list grew longer than my actual contact list. The most infuriating part was when her mother called. Yes, her mother. I'd always found her a bit overbearing, but mostly harmless. Not anymore. She launched into a tearful monologue about how much Alina loved me, how this was just a silly mistake brought on by stress, and how I was ruining her daughter's life by not taking her back. My blood ran cold. "Ma'am," I cut her off, my voice surprisingly steady. "Your daughter betrayed me. She brought another man into our home. There's no silly mistake here, and I owe her nothing." She exploded then, calling me heartless, unforgiving, and threatening to tell everyone what a monster I am. I simply hung up and blocked her number 2. The sheer audacity, the complete lack of accountability was astounding. It reinforced my decision. These people lived in a different reality, one where their actions had no consequences, and I was done being part of it. The apartment, once a sanctuary, now felt tainted. Every object, every piece of furniture, seemed to hum with the ghost of her presence, of her lies. I realized I couldn't truly heal until I reclaimed my space, mentally and physically. So I started small. I bought a new mattress. It felt like a symbolic act, wiping away the memory of restless nights shared with a stranger. Then I rearranged the living room, moved furniture, even bought new curtains. I slowly replaced items that were ours with things that were mine. It wasn't about erasing her, but about creating a new narrative for my home, one that wasn't defined by her betrayal. I also began to reconnect with myself. I picked up old hobbies I'd abandoned, spent more time at the gym, channeling my anger and frustration into physical exertion, reread books I loved, rediscovering the comfort of familiar stories. Slowly, painstakingly, the fog began to lift. The hollow ache in my chest didn't disappear overnight, but it became less sharp, less suffocating. I started sleeping better, no longer haunted by nightmares of deception. The anger, too, began to morph from a destructive fire into a cold, hard resolve. I wouldn't let this define me or break me. This experience, as devastating as it was, would be a catalyst for growth. I would emerge stronger, wiser, and certainly more discerning. Life, however, has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. About 3 months after the breakup, I was out with friends at a local bar, just starting to feel like my old self again, enjoying a night out. We were laughing, catching up when I saw her. Alina. She was with a group of people, and standing right next to her, with his arm casually draped around her shoulder, was the man from the video call. He was taller than I'd imagined, with a smug, self-satisfied grin that instantly ignited a cold spark of fury in my gut. For a moment, our eyes met across the crowded room. Her face went pale, a flash of fear in her eyes, before she quickly looked away, trying to pull him closer, as if to shield herself. He, oblivious, leaned in and whispered something in her ear, making her laugh. It was a bizarre, almost out-of-body experience. Seeing them together, so openly, after all her tears and desperate pleas, just solidified the truth of her deceit. There was no apology, no regret in her demeanor, only discomfort of being caught. My friends immediately noticed my change in mood. "You okay, man?" one asked, following my gaze. I simply nodded, then took a deep breath. "Let's move," I said, calmly, pulling them towards another part of the bar, away from their toxic presence. The anger was there, a dull throb, but it wasn't the searing, uncontrolled rage from the day I discovered the truth. It was different. It was the anger of recognition, of validation. She truly was exactly who I now knew her to be, and seeing it, clear as day, was somehow liberating. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't wrong. That encounter, though brief and jarring, was a turning point. It solidified my resolve. There was no closure to be found from her, no apology that would ever truly heal the wound. My closure had to come from within. I deleted all our old photos, packed away the last few remnants of her things, and donated them. It wasn't an act of anger, but of letting go. I started dating again, cautiously at first, like testing shallow waters after a shipwreck. The trust issues were immense. Every new interaction felt like walking on eggshells. I found myself scrutinizing every glance, every text, every small detail. It was exhausting. I realized I needed to heal fully before I could truly open myself up to someone else. I began therapy, focusing on rebuilding my self-worth and learning to navigate the complexities of trust after such a profound betrayal. The journey isn't over. The scars are there, a permanent reminder of the lessons learned. But they don't define me. I'm building a new life based on authenticity, honesty, and genuine respect. The pain taught me resilience. The betrayal taught me discernment. And the process of healing taught me the strength I never knew I possessed. I'm not a victim. I'm a survivor, charting my own course forward, stronger and wiser than before. What do you think is the hardest part of rebuilding trust after a betrayal, and why?